The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched wide enough to hold 1,000 beings from 100 different worlds. Today it held representatives from 47 civilized species, all gathered to discuss a simple matter. They wanted to expand their territories into the Outer Rim, into the region known as the Dead Zone. Counselor Vrax stood at the center platform, his forearms gesturing confidently as he spoke. His blue skin reflected the lights above, and his voice carried across the massive chamber with authority. He had been a counselor for 30 years, and he knew how to command attention. "The Dead Zone is nothing but empty space," Vrax declared. "We have scanned it thoroughly. There are habitable worlds rich in resources, and no one lives there. Our populations grow every year. We need new colonies. We need those worlds." Some council members nodded in agreement. Others remained silent, considering his words. The expansion would benefit many species. New worlds meant new opportunities, new resources, and new hope for crowded populations back home. In the back of the chamber, Ambassador Kaleth shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He was old, even by Nostran standards, and his gray skin carried the wrinkles of 200 years of life. He had spent most of those years studying history, particularly forbidden history, the kind of history that most species preferred to forget. Kaleth raised one thin hand, requesting permission to speak. The council speaker acknowledged him, and a platform lifted the old ambassador to where everyone could see him. "I must voice my concerns," Kaleth said, his voice quieter than Vrax's but somehow carrying more weight. "The Dead Zone is forbidden for a reason. That space surrounds the Sol system, the homeworld of humanity." A ripple of uncomfortable laughter spread through the chamber. Vrax's mandibles clicked in what his species considered amusement. "Humanity," Vrax said. "Ambassador Kaleth, with all respect to your years, humanity is a myth. A story we tell children to make them behave. They destroyed themselves nearly 3,000 years ago. Even if they were real, they are long gone." Kaleth shook his head slowly. "I have studied the old records. Humanity was very real. They were violent, yes, but also brilliant. They created technology that we still do not fully understand. They survived in conditions that would kill most of us. And the records never confirmed their extinction, only their disappearance." Another counselor, a floating jellyfish-like being named Orphis, joined the conversation. "Even if humans existed once, 3,000 years is a long time. No species could survive that long in isolation. If they did survive, they would have contacted us by now." "Unless they chose not to," Kaleth replied quietly. Vrax laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. "This is foolishness. We are letting ghost stories control our policy. The Dead Zone contains 17 habitable worlds. We are ignoring them because of legends and fear. I say we are better than this. I say we claim what is rightfully ours through the law of discovery." The debate continued for another hour. Counselors argued back and forth, some supporting expansion, others urging caution. In the end, progress and resources won over ancient warnings. The vote was called, and the result was clear. 42 species voted for expansion. Only 5 voted against. Kaleth returned to his seat, a heavy feeling in his chest. He had read the old records many times. He had seen the reports from the last ships that encountered humanity before their disappearance. The humans had been desperate then, fleeing their dying world in whatever ships they could build. But desperation made species dangerous, not weak. The council session ended and representatives began filing out of the chamber. Vrax approached Kaleth, his expression friendly but condescending. "No hard feelings, old friend," Vrax said. "I know you believe in your research, but sometimes we must let go of the past and embrace the future. There is nothing in the Dead Zone but opportunity." Kaleth looked at the younger counselor for a long moment. "I hope you are right," he said finally. "For all our sakes, I truly hope you are right." 3 weeks later, a colonization fleet of 47 ships departed from the council's main shipyard. They carried colonists, equipment, and supplies to establish the first settlements in the Dead Zone. Their destination was a planet the council had designated as Kepler 442, a world with a breathable atmosphere, liquid water, and comfortable temperatures. The fleet commander, a Tellurian named Hexus, studied the navigation charts as his ships entered the Outer Rim. Everything appeared normal. His sensor showed no signs of life, no ships, no stations. Just stars and planets waiting to be claimed. "All ships report ready," his second officer announced. "We will reach Kepler 442 in 6 days." Hexus nodded. This would be his legacy. The first commander to expand council territory in over a century. His name would be remembered. Far away, in a hidden station orbiting a moon no council chart had ever recorded, Commander Hyun watched his display screens with cold eyes. He was 43 years old, born on a colony world that no alien species knew existed. His grandparents had been born on Earth before the Exodus. His parents had been born on the Generation ships during the long journey to the Outer Rim. "Sir, the alien fleet has crossed the boundary line," the sensor officer reported. She was young, barely 25, and her hands trembled slightly as she worked her console. Hyun studied the fleet composition on his screen. 47 ships, mostly transports with light military escorts. They were heading straight for New Haven, one of humanity's larger colonies. The aliens did not know New Haven existed, of course. To them, it was just an empty planet waiting to be claimed. "Have they responded to our warning beacons?" Hyun asked. "No, sir. They are either ignoring them or cannot detect them." Hyun was not surprised. Humanity had developed stealth technology far beyond what the Council species understood. Their warning beacons broadcast on frequencies that Council sensors could not detect. It was a test, a way to see if the aliens would turn back when warned. They had not. "Send a priority alert to Fleet Command," Hyun ordered. "Inform them that contact is imminent." Recommended status full alert. The communications officer nodded and began transmitting. Across human space, dozens of hidden colonies and military stations received the same message. For 3,000 years, humanity had remained hidden, rebuilding their strength, hoping the galaxy would never find them. That time had ended. Hyun leaned back in his chair, remembering the stories his grandmother had told him. Stories of Earth, of the wars that nearly destroyed humanity, of the desperate flight into unknown space. She had been just a child then, traveling in a Generation ship with hundreds of other refugees. Most of the ships had been lost over the centuries, but some had survived. Some had found worlds where humanity could start again. "Sir, we have response from Fleet Command," the communications officer said. "Admiral Soo-hyun orders all defensive stations to yellow alert. She wants reconnaissance ships deployed immediately." "Acknowledged," Hyun said. He touched a button on his chair, opening a channel to his own ship crews. "This is Commander Hyun. We have detected an alien colonization fleet entering human space. They do not know we exist. They do not know this space is claimed. We will make them understand." He paused, choosing his next words carefully. These words would be recorded, remembered, and studied by future generations. For 3,000 years we have hidden in the shadows. We have watched the galaxy forget us. They think we are myths, stories to frighten children. Today we remind them that humanity is real. We remind them that we survived. And we show them that this is our space. "Prepare the fleets," the channel closed. Hyun sat in silence for a moment, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. Then he stood and walked to the observation window. Outside, stars glittered in the darkness, cold and distant. Somewhere among those stars, an alien fleet was coming closer. They thought they were entering empty space. They were wrong. And soon, very soon, they would learn the truth. Humanity had never died. Humanity had only been waiting. The alien fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel exactly where they planned. In orbit around the planet they called Kepler 442. Commander Hexus studied the blue and green world on his main screen, satisfaction warming his chest. The planet looked perfect, even better than the long-range scans had suggested. "Begin scanning for landing sites," Hexus ordered. "I want geological surveys and atmospheric samples within the hour." His crew moved with practiced efficiency. They had done this before on other worlds, though never this far from Council space. The process was routine. Scan, survey, land, establish a base camp, then begin full colonization. Within a year, this planet would have cities. Within 10, it would be a thriving world. On the planet's surface, in a city the aliens could not detect, Dr. Minji stood in the emergency command center watching the same alien ships on her screens. The city around her, home to 3 million humans, continued its normal routines. People went to work, children attended school, and the markets were full of shoppers. They did not know yet that aliens orbited above them. "We need to attempt contact," Minji said, looking at the military officers around her. "They might not know we are here. We can explain, negotiate, find a peaceful solution." Colonel Taewon, the ranking military officer on New Haven, shook his head. "Command already tried automated warnings. The aliens ignored them. But we can try direct communication. It might work." He gestured to a young woman at a communication station. "Jiwon, prepare a first contact message. Use every language in our database. Make it clear, simple, and friendly. Jiwon was 22 years old, fresh from the Communications Academy. She had trained her entire life for this moment, though she had never truly believed it would happen. Her hands moved across her console, accessing files containing 50 different alien languages that humanity had recorded over the centuries by monitoring council transmissions. She took a deep breath and began transmitting. Attention, unidentified vessels. This is New Haven colony of the Human Federation. You are entering claimed space. We mean you no harm. We wish to establish peaceful dialogue. Please respond on this frequency. The message repeated in every language humanity knew, broadcasting directly at the alien fleet. On Hexus's command ship, the communications officer jumped in surprise. Commander! We are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. It is using Council Standard Language. What? Hexus leaned forward. That is impossible. The planet is uninhabited. Sir, the message claims this planet is called New Haven and belongs to something called the Human Federation. The bridge fell silent. Every officer turned to look at their commander. Hexus felt his blood run cold. Human. That word carried weight, carried fear, carried legends of violence and chaos. Are you certain the message said human? Hexus asked. Yes, sir. They used multiple languages, including extinct ones from the archives. They are requesting peaceful communication. Hexus made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Instead of responding, instead of investigating, he assumed the worst. Humanity was supposed to be extinct. If humans still existed, they were a threat. The old record said humans were violent, unpredictable, and dangerous. He could not risk his colonists. Battle stations, Hexus ordered. All military escorts target the source of that transmission. Prepare to fire. On New Haven, alarms suddenly screamed through the command center. Jiwon looked at her screens in horror. They are powering weapons. They are targeting the city. Colonel Taewon did not hesitate. Activate planetary shields. Launch defensive fighters. Get our people to shelters now. Across New Haven, warning sirens wailed. Citizens who had been going about their peaceful day suddenly ran for designated safe zones. Parents grabbed children. Teachers led students to underground bunkers. The city that had never seen war prepared for battle in minutes. Captain Doyen was in his fighter before the sirens even finished their first cycle. He was 28, cocky, and the best pilot in New Haven's defense wing. His fighter, a sleek ship that council sensors could barely detect, launched from a hidden bay along with 40 others. Diamond Squadron, this is Captain Doyen. We have hostile aliens targeting our city. Authorization to engage is granted. Make them regret coming here. His fighter screamed into the sky, breaking atmosphere in seconds. His sensors showed the alien ships clearly now. 12 military escorts powering their weapons. They were slow compared to human ships. Their designs were efficient but predictable. The aliens fired first. Energy beams lanced down toward the city, hitting the newly activated shields in blooms of light. The shields held, designed to withstand far worse than these relatively weak weapons. Then Doyen and his squadron hit the alien formation like a storm. The aliens never saw them coming. Human stealth technology, developed during centuries of hiding, made the fighters nearly invisible. They appeared on alien sensors only when they fired, and by then it was too late. Doyen locked onto an alien escort ship and fired. His missiles, guided by advanced targeting systems, struck the ship's engines. The escort shuddered, venting atmosphere, and began to drift out of formation. Around him, his squadron tore through the alien ships with practiced precision. They had trained for this their entire lives, though they had never expected to use their training. Humanity had prepared for the day when hiding was no longer possible. This is Commander Hexus to all ships. Retreat! Retreat immediately! The alien commander's voice cracked across every frequency. Panic clear in every word. 8 of the 12 escort ships were already crippled or destroyed. The surviving 4 broke formation and ran, their faster-than-light drives spooling up desperately. The colony ships, unarmed and helpless, scattered like frightened birds. Doyen could have destroyed them all. His squadron could have hunted down every ship. But Colonel Taewon's voice came through his helmet speaker. Diamond Squadron, hold fire. Let them run. We want survivors. We want them to tell the galaxy what they found here. Doyen watched the alien ships disappear into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind the wreckage of their escorts and their dreams of colonization. He felt no joy in the victory, only a cold certainty that everything had changed. The battle had lasted 7 minutes. 3 alien ships managed to regroup and return to Council space. They carried stories that no one wanted to believe. Stories of humans attacking from nowhere, of technology that could not be detected, of a species that was supposed to be extinct. Counselor Vrax received the reports in his office, reading them 3 times before he could accept what they said. Humanity was real, humanity was alive, and humanity had just destroyed a council fleet without suffering a single casualty. He immediately called for an emergency council session. Within hours, every species representative stood in the Great Hall once again, this time in chaos instead of order. Everyone spoke at once, demanding answers, expressing fear, calling for military action. Ambassador Keelith stood in his usual place, and for once no one laughed at his warnings. The old Nostran looked around at the panicking council and felt no satisfaction in being right. He had hoped desperately that he was wrong. The council speaker finally restored order by slamming his sound staff against the floor repeatedly. When the chamber quieted, he spoke in a grave voice. The reports are confirmed. Humanity exists. They have claimed significant territory in the dead zone. They have military capabilities that exceed our own, and they have made it clear they will defend their space with force. Then we destroy them, Vrax said, his voice hard. We mobilize every fleet. We have numbers on our side. We can overwhelm them. Keelith shook his head. You do not understand what humanity is. They survived the death of their own world. They crossed the galaxy in primitive ships. They hid from us for 3,000 years while building themselves back to strength. These are not enemies to take lightly. They are just one species, another counselor argued. We are 47. We have resources they cannot match. The debate raged for hours. In the end, fear and pride won over caution. The council voted for war. They would assemble the largest military fleet in galactic history and show humanity that no species could defy the council. The vote was 39-8. War was declared. On New Haven, Commander Hyun received word of the council's declaration. He stood on a balcony overlooking the city that had nearly been attacked, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and red. Dr. Minji stood beside him, her expression troubled. We tried to make peace, she said quietly. We reached out to them first. I know, Hyun replied, but they chose violence over dialogue. Now we must respond. Can we win? Hyun was silent for a long moment. Then he said, we do not need to win. We only need to survive. That is what humanity does best. We survive. Across human space, colonies received the same message. The galaxy knew about them now. The galaxy was coming for them. And humanity, the species that was supposed to be a myth, would show the galaxy exactly why they had survived when so many others had fallen. The war had begun. Admiral Suyun stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the tactical display that showed the entire outer rim. Red markers indicated council forces. Blue markers showed human positions. The red outnumbered the blue by more than 10-1. That did not concern her. Numbers had never been humanity's advantage. She was 57 years old, gray threading through her black hair, and she had spent 35 years preparing for this exact situation. Every simulation, every training exercise, every strategic study had been built around one question. What would humanity do if the galaxy found them and chose war? Now she had her answer. Humanity would fight with everything they had. Status report, she ordered. Her tactical officer, a young man named Sunwoo, called out the numbers. Council forces have divided into 3 main battle groups. The largest is heading for the Kepler sector, attempting to reclaim the worlds they scouted. The second group is moving toward our manufacturing colonies in the Cygnus Arm. The third group is establishing a blockade around our suspected territory. They are fighting a traditional war, Soo-hyun observed. They think this will be about holding territory and controlling space lanes. Should we correct their misunderstanding? Sunwoo asked with a slight smile. Immediately, Soo-hyun confirmed. Send orders to Ghost Fleet. Begin Operation Phantom. Across human space, 75 stealth ships received their orders and disappeared from even human sensors. They were small, fast, and carried weapons designed to cripple rather than destroy. Their mission was simple: make the Council fear every shadow, every silent moment, every empty system. The first Council battle group to learn this lesson was heading toward Kepler 442. 300 ships, representing 12 different species, each confident in their numbers and firepower. Fleet Admiral Gorthak, a massive reptilian Drexian, commanded from his dreadnought. "Our scouts report no human ships in this sector," his sensor officer announced. "The approach is clear." Gorthak nodded. The humans were cowards, he decided. They had won one small battle through surprise and now they were hiding. When his fleet arrived at their colony world, he would show them what real military power looked like. His fleet never reached Kepler 442. The human stealth ships struck from 12 different angles simultaneously. They did not target the largest ships. Instead, they hit supply vessels, communication ships, and support carriers. Missiles appeared from nowhere, fired from ships that no sensor could detect. In 20 minutes, Gorthak's fleet lost 46 support vessels without seeing a single enemy. "Where are they?" Gorthak roared. "Find them! Shoot something!" But his ships could not shoot what they could not see. The human vessels appeared only long enough to fire, then vanished again into the darkness. His crews grew panicked, shooting at sensor ghosts and shadows. By the time Gorthak ordered a retreat, his fleet had lost 60 ships and he still had not seen a single human vessel clearly. The Second Council battle group fared no better. They were approaching a human manufacturing colony when every system on every ship suddenly failed simultaneously. Lights went out, life support shut down, weapons went offline, navigation died. For 17 terrifying minutes, the entire fleet drifted helpless in space. Then everything came back online at once. But now every computer in the fleet carried the same message. "You are alive because we choose mercy. Leave our space." Jiho watched from a hidden station as the Council fleet scrambled to restore their systems. He was 31, thin and unremarkable in appearance, but he was humanity's best hacker. He had just infiltrated the computer systems of 300 alien warships without firing a single shot. "Did the virus deploy correctly?" his supervisor asked. "Perfectly," Jiho confirmed. "We now have backdoor access to their entire fleet network. We can shut them down anytime we want." And we left them a little present in their communication systems. The present was a video. It showed human colonies, human cities, human families. It showed children playing, people laughing, communities thriving. And it showed a message. "We did not start this war. We do not want this war, but we will finish it." The video spread through the Council fleet's network faster than they could contain it. It jumped from ship to ship, appearing on every screen, every console, every personal device. And with it came a realization that chilled the alien crews to their cores. Humans were not the monsters from ancient legends. They were people. People with families, with homes, with lives worth protecting. And those people were willing to fight with weapons and tactics that the Council did not understand. The Second Fleet also retreated. On the ground, the war was even more brutal. Lieutenant Minseo led a Marine platoon of 45 soldiers defending a mining colony called Haven's Edge. The Council had sent 5,000 ground troops to capture it, believing the small human presence would be easy to eliminate. Minseo was 33, compact and muscular, with scars on her hands from years of training. She had been born on Haven's Edge. She knew every tunnel, every building, every hiding spot, and she had no intention of letting aliens take her home. "They are coming from the North Valley," her scout reported. 5 battalions, heavy armor, aerial support." "Good," Minseo said. "Let them come through the valley." She had spent 2 weeks preparing the battlefield. The valley was now a death trap, filled with hidden explosives, concealed firing positions, and carefully weakened cliff faces. The humans did not have the numbers to win a fair fight, so they did not fight fair. The Council forces entered the valley in formation, confident and organized. They made it halfway through before Minseo detonated the first charges. The valley walls collapsed, crushing the armor and blocking the retreat route. Human soldiers appeared from tunnels and buildings, firing from positions the aliens had not even known existed. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the Council forces retreated, leaving behind 2,000 casualties and most of their equipment. Minseo's platoon had lost 7 soldiers. She held a memorial for them that night, speaking their names and promising they would be remembered. But the galaxy was learning something about humanity. When you killed one human soldier, you made 1,000 more determined to fight. When you threatened a human colony, you united every human everywhere. Humanity did not fight for territory or resources. They fought for survival, and that made them more dangerous than any weapon. 6 months into the war, Counselor Vrax commanded a fleet of 800 ships. He was determined to prove that humans could be beaten through sheer overwhelming force. He chose a target carefully, a lightly defended agricultural colony called Green Haven. "We will make an example here," Vrax told his officers. "We will show the galaxy that humanity can bleed, can lose, can be defeated." His fleet arrived in orbit around Green Haven with weapons ready. What he found waiting for him was Admiral Suhyun with 150 human ships. The Battle of Green Haven became the largest space engagement of the war. For 8 hours, the two fleets fought above the colony world. The Council had superior numbers. Humanity had superior tactics, superior technology, and superior motivation. Suhyun commanded her fleet like a conductor leading an orchestra. Every ship moved with purpose, every shot had a target, every maneuver had a reason. She drew Vrax's fleet into a formation that looked like an encirclement, but was actually a trap. When Vrax realized his mistake, it was too late. Human ships were not where his sensors said they were. His formation was not protecting his flanks but exposing them, and Admiral Suhyun had just positioned her entire fleet for a devastating crossfire. "All ships full assault," Suhyun ordered. The human fleet opened fire with everything they had: missiles, energy weapons, rail guns, and experimental weapons that the Council had never seen before. Vrax's ships tried to respond, tried to regroup, but Suhyun gave them no time. She pressed the attack relentlessly, breaking his formation, scattering his ships, destroying his command structure. Vrax abandoned his flagship in an escape pod, watching from a rescue ship as his fleet disintegrated around him. He had brought 800 ships to crush humanity. He was retreating with less than 300. It was the worst military defeat in Council history. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. Humanity had won a major battle against overwhelming odds. The species that was supposed to be a myth, that was supposed to be extinct, had just humiliated the combined military might of 47 civilized species. In the Council chambers, panic replaced confidence. Species representatives argued about strategy, about resources, about whether to continue the war at all. Some called for negotiation, others called for even larger fleets. No one could agree. Ambassador Keyleth watched the chaos and felt profound sadness. He had tried to warn them. He had told them that humanity was not an enemy to underestimate. But pride and fear had led them to war, and now both sides were paying the price. In her flagship, Admiral Suhyun reviewed casualty reports. Green Haven had been saved, but she had lost 32 ships and over 4,000 crew members. Every death was a name, a story, a family grieving. Victory tasted like ash. She broadcast a message on all frequencies, knowing the Council would intercept it. "This is Admiral Suhyun of the Human Federation. We did not want this war. We offered peace and you chose violence." Youngmi woke to the sound of sirens. Again. For the third time in 2 weeks, enemy ships were approaching New Sol Station, and everyone had to rush to the shelters. She grabbed her daughter's hand and ran, following the familiar path to the underground bunkers. She was 36 years old, a teacher before the war, and she was tired. So very tired. Her husband had died in the first year of fighting, a civilian transport pilot caught in a battle he never should have been near. Her son served on Admiral Suhyun's fleet now, and she had not heard from him in 3 months. Every day she feared the message that would tell her he was gone too. The shelter was crowded and dark. Hundreds of people pressed together, waiting for the all-clear signal. Children cried. Adults tried to comfort them while hiding their own fear. Youngmi held her daughter close and sang quietly, the same songs her grandmother had taught her. Songs from Earth, from a world she had never seen. Above them, the battle raged. Human ships fought Council forces while trying to protect the station. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. Ships died. People died. And on the ground, in the shelters, families waited to learn if they would survive another day. This time, they were lucky. The human defenders won, drove off the Council attack, and the all-clear sounded after 2 hours. Youngmi emerged from the shelter to find her neighborhood damaged but still standing. Some families were not so lucky. She watched medical teams carry bodies from collapsed buildings and felt something inside her break. How many more? How many more people had to die before this war ended? Captain Doyen sat in his cockpit, hands shaking. He had just completed his 97th combat mission. He could not remember what his apartment looked like. He could not remember what peace felt like. He only remembered fighting, killing, and watching his friends die. He was 29 now, though he felt ancient. The cocky confidence that had once defined him was gone, burned away by months of combat. He had shot down 63 enemy ships. He had killed thousands of enemy soldiers, and he did not feel proud. He felt empty. His wingmate, a pilot named Yunbi, had died yesterday. Her fighter had taken a hit and she ejected, but her escape pod failed. He had watched her die, helpless to save her. She was the 14th wingmate he had lost. He could name every one of them. Their faces haunted his dreams. Captain Doyen, report to medical for psychological evaluation, his communications officer said over the radio. Doyen almost laughed. Psychological evaluation. What would they find? That he was broken? That the war had destroyed something essential inside him? He already knew that. Every pilot knew that. They kept fighting anyway because someone had to. Because if they stopped, more people like Young Mi's daughter would die. He landed his fighter and walked to medical, moving like an old man. The doctor took one look at him and prescribed 3 days of mandatory rest. Doyen accepted without argument. He was too tired to argue. Too tired for anything except sleep. Commander Hyun stood in a cemetery looking at rows of markers. Each one represented a soldier, a civilian, a life ended by the war. There were too many. The cemetery had expanded 3 times in 18 months, and it was almost full again. He came here every week, forcing himself to see the cost of his decisions. Every battle plan he approved, every order he gave, resulted in names added to this field. He could not forget that. He would not forget that. A woman approached him, older, with gray hair and tears on her face. She carried flowers. "My son served under you," she said. "Private Taejun. He died at Haven's Edge." Hyun remembered Taejun. Young, barely 20, eager to prove himself. He had died holding a position that saved 40 civilians. A hero. But his mother only saw her lost child. "I am sorry," Hyun said, the words inadequate and hollow. The woman placed her flowers at one marker and turned to face him. "Is it worth it? All these deaths, all this suffering. Is it worth it?" Hyun wanted to say yes. He wanted to tell her that they fought for survival, for freedom, for the right to exist. But looking at the cemetery, at the endless rows of the dead, he could not find the words. Instead, he said, "I do not know anymore." The woman nodded and walked away, leaving Hyun alone among the graves. In council space, the war's toll was equally brutal. Entire worlds had been evacuated after human raids destroyed their infrastructure. Economies collapsed under the strain of military spending. Species that had been allies for centuries argued and blamed each other for the disaster. Counselor Vrax had been removed from command after the disaster at Greenhaven. He now sat in his quarters, obsessing over tactical maps, trying to find a way to defeat humanity. But every strategy he developed failed the same test. Humanity did not fight the way they were supposed to. They did not defend fixed positions. They did not protect supply lines. They did not value territory over lives. They fought like ghosts, like shadows, appearing where you did not expect them and vanishing before you could respond. Traditional military doctrine was useless against them. His door chimed. Ambassador Keelith entered without waiting for permission. "We need to talk," Keelith said. Vrax looked at the old Nostran with bitter eyes. "You were right. Are you here to mock me?" "I am here because this war is destroying us all," Keelith replied. "Both sides are bleeding. Both sides are suffering. And for what? Pride? Fear? We need to find a way to end this." "The humans will not negotiate," Vrax said. "They want us to leave their space, acknowledge their territory, treat them as equals. We cannot do that." "Why not?" Keelith asked. "What is so terrible about sharing the galaxy? We have thousands of star systems. They claim perhaps 100. There is room for everyone." Vrax wanted to argue, but he had no good answer. The truth was that the Council had started this war because they feared humanity's legends. They attacked first, and now they could not admit they were wrong. Pride had started the war. Pride was keeping it going. "There are counselors who would listen," Keelith said carefully. "Species who are tired of losing ships, losing soldiers, losing resources. If we could arrange a meeting, a secret negotiation, we might find common ground. And if the hardliners discover it, then we are no worse off than we are now," Keelith said. "But we have to try. Someone has to try." On New Sol Station, a major battle was coming. Both sides knew it. The Council was assembling their largest fleet yet, determined to capture the station and prove they could win against humanity's strongest defenses. Humanity was committing every available ship to defend it, knowing that if they lost New Sol, they would lose the war. Admiral Soo-hyun and Commander Hyun met to coordinate strategy. They had done this hundreds of times, but this felt different. This felt final. If we lose here, we lose everything, Soo-hyun said bluntly. The Council will have momentum. Our colonies will be vulnerable. If they lose here, they might finally be willing to negotiate, Hyun replied. This could be the end of the war one way or another. They studied the tactical displays, planning every move, every contingency. They had 1,500 ships. Intelligence suggested the Council would bring 3,000. It would be close. It would be bloody, and thousands would die regardless of who won. I am tired, Soo-hyun admitted quietly. I am tired of making decisions that kill people. I am tired of this war. So am I, Hyun said. But we are almost through it. One more battle. Then maybe finally peace. The fleets began moving into position. On New Sol Station, families evacuated to bunkers. Soldiers took their positions. Pilots like Doyen climbed into their fighters one more time, preparing to face death again. Civilians like Youngmi huddled with their children, praying for survival. The Battle of New Sol Station began at dawn. 3,000 Council ships against 1,500 human vessels. The largest space battle in galactic history. For 12 hours, the two fleets hammered at each other with everything they had. Admiral Soo-hyun commanded brilliantly, using every trick, every advantage humanity possessed. But the Council forces fought with desperate determination, knowing this was their last chance to win the war. Ships exploded. Debris fields expanded. Casualty numbers climbed into the tens of thousands. Neither side was winning. Both sides were simply destroying each other. Captain Doyen flew through the chaos, his fighter damaged, his systems failing. He saw Council ships dying. He saw human ships dying. He saw the station taking hits, saw sections venting atmosphere. And he thought, this has to stop. This has to end. He was not the only one thinking that. In ships across both fleets, soldiers and sailors looked at the carnage and asked themselves the same question. What are we fighting for? The battle ended not with victory, but with exhaustion. Both fleets broke contact. Too damaged to continue, too tired to fight. They retreated to lick their wounds and count their dead. New Sol Station had held, but barely. The Council had failed to take it, but barely. In the aftermath, as medics worked to save the wounded and commanders counted losses, something changed. Both sides realized they could not continue. The war had reached a point where victory was impossible for either side. They could only destroy each other. Ambassador Kaleth sent a message to Commander Hyun, just 3 words. Can we talk? Hyun sat in his office, surrounded by casualty reports, and thought about the cemetery. About Youngmi and her daughter. About Doyen and his haunted eyes. About all the people who had suffered because diplomacy had failed. The neutral station floated in empty space, equidistant from both human and Council territories. It had been built centuries ago as a meeting place for peace negotiations that never happened. Now finally it would serve its intended purpose. Commander Hyun arrived with a small delegation. Admiral Soo-hyun accompanied him, along with Dr. Minji and a handful of diplomats. They brought no weapons, no guards, only hope that this meeting would succeed where violence had failed. Ambassador Kaleth greeted them at the airlock. The old Nostran looked even more aged than before, worn down by the war's toll. Behind him stood representatives from 12 Council species, including several who had voted against the war from the beginning. Notably absent was Councillor Vrax. The hardliner had refused to attend, along with 26 other species representatives. They did not believe peace was possible. They wanted the war to continue until humanity was eliminated. Thank you for coming, Kaleth said. I know the risks you have taken. Hyun nodded. If the hardliners discovered this meeting, both he and Kaleth could be branded as traitors. But some risks were worth taking. They gathered in a conference room built for exactly this purpose. The table was round, ensuring no one sat at the head. Everyone was equal here. That symbolism was important. Let me begin by saying what many of us already know. Kaleth started. This war was a mistake. We attacked first based on fear and old legends. We gave humanity no choice but to defend themselves. The Council owes humanity an apology. Several alien representatives shifted uncomfortably. Admitting fault was difficult, especially after so many had died. But Kelith was right, and they knew it. Hyun appreciated the gesture, but apologies alone would not build peace. We understand fear. Humanity has known fear for 3,000 years. We hid because we were afraid the galaxy would destroy us. Perhaps we were right to be afraid. But fear cannot guide us anymore. Not if we want to survive. Dr. Minji spread a holographic display across the table. It showed casualty numbers, economic damage, displaced populations, destroyed infrastructure. The cost of war displayed in stark detail. Both sides are bleeding, she said. Both sides have lost too much. If we continue fighting, we destroy each other. Is that really what anyone wants? The discussion lasted for hours. They argued about territory, about resources, about security. Human colonies were already established in the Outer Rim. The Council would have to acknowledge that. But humanity would have to accept limitations on expansion, assurances that they would not threaten Council space. It was Admiral Soo-hyun who suggested the breakthrough. What if we joined you? Not as conquered subjects, but as equals. Give humanity a seat on the Council. Let us participate in galactic governance. That way, you know what we are doing, and we have a voice in decisions that affect us. The alien representatives exchanged glances. A human counselor. The idea was radical, but it made sense. Keep your former enemies close. Turn them into partners instead. It could work, Kelith said slowly, but it would require a full council vote, and the hardliners will oppose it. Then we need to show the galaxy that peace is better than war, Hyun said. We need public support, not just from our side, but from yours. While the leadership negotiated, something else was happening. Jiho, the human hacker, was monitoring communications. He had backdoors into half the Council's networks left over from his cyber warfare operations. And he noticed something disturbing. Counselor Vrax was planning something. Encrypted messages, coded communications, unusual ship movements. Jiho traced them all, following the digital trail through layers of security. What he found made his blood run cold. Vrax was planning to destroy the Peace Summit. He had assembled a small fleet of loyalists, species who refused to accept peace with humanity. They planned to attack the neutral station, killing everyone inside, and blame humanity for the attack. With the peace delegation dead, the war would continue, perhaps forever. Jiho immediately contacted the station. Commander Hyun, we have a problem. Vrax is coming. He has 40 ships, and they will be here in less than an hour. The conference room erupted in chaos. Guards rushed to defensive positions. The human delegation prepared to evacuate. But Kelith held up one thin hand. No, he said firmly. If we run, Vrax wins. The galaxy will think we failed. They will think peace is impossible. But if we stay, we die, one of the alien delegates protested. Not if we show them the truth, Hyun said. He turned to Jiho. Can you broadcast what is happening here? Can you show the galaxy this meeting? Show them Vrax's attack, show them everything. Jiho smiled. I can broadcast to every screen in Council space. Every ship, every station, every home. Everyone will see. Do it, Hyun ordered. Across the galaxy on thousands of worlds, broadcasts were suddenly interrupted. Screens showed the peace conference, showed humans and aliens talking together, working toward compromise. The galaxy watched, fascinated, as their representatives negotiated in good faith. Then Vrax's fleet arrived. 40 ships, weapons charged, heading straight for the station. The broadcast showed them coming, showed the peace delegates refusing to run, and most importantly, showed Vrax's own communications, his plan to destroy the summit and blame humanity. The galaxy watched a would-be war criminal try to murder those seeking peace. But Vrax had not counted on one thing. Admiral Soo-hyun had positioned a human defense fleet nearby just in case. And Counselor Kelith had secretly done the same with loyal council ships. When Vrax attacked, he found himself facing not a helpless station but a combined human council defense force. The battle was brief. Vrax's fleet was outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and lacked the support they had counted on. Most of his ships surrendered. Vrax himself was captured, his schemes exposed for the entire galaxy to see. On millions of worlds, people watched a human admiral and a council force commander coordinate their defense. They watched former enemies work together to protect peace, and they understood that something fundamental had changed. The galaxy had seen enough war. The galaxy wanted peace. The council convened an emergency session. This time every species attended, Every representative knew the galaxy was watching, and they could not afford to disappoint. Ambassador Keyleth stood to speak, his voice carrying across the chamber and across space to billions of viewers. Humanity exists. They are not myths or monsters. They are people like all of us. They want what we want: safety, prosperity, and a future for their children. We attacked them first and they defended themselves. We can continue this war until both sides are destroyed, or we can choose a better path. The vote was called. Would humanity be offered a seat on the Galactic Council? Would they be recognized as equals? The result was not unanimous. Some species still voted against, still held to old fears and prejudices, but the majority chose peace. 39 species voted yes. The motion passed. Commander Hyun stood in that same chamber, the first human to address the Galactic Council in 3,000 years. He thought about what to say, how to represent his entire species in this moment. In the end, he chose simplicity and honesty. We did not want this war. We wanted only to survive, to live in peace, to raise our children on worlds we could call home. You gave us no choice but to fight, but fighting was never our goal. Survival was. Existence was. Now you offer us something we never thought possible: acceptance, recognition, partnership. We accept. He paused, looking around at the alien faces watching him. But we do not forget. We do not forget the friends we lost, the families destroyed, the years stolen by conflict. We remember, and we ask that you remember too. Remember what fear and pride cost us all. Remember that we are stronger together than apart. Remember that peace, difficult as it is better than war. The chamber fell silent. Then slowly one representative began to applaud. Then another. Then more, until the entire council was showing their approval in whatever way their species expressed such things. It was not forgiveness, not yet. But it was a beginning. The treaty was signed 3 months later. Humanity received territory in the Outer Rim, representation on the council, and protection under galactic law. In exchange, they agreed to limitations on military expansion and opened their borders to trade and diplomacy. It was not a perfect peace, but it was peace. Captain Do-yoon stood in a training facility, watching the first class of Joint Human Council peacekeeping forces. Human soldiers trained alongside alien soldiers, learning each other's languages, tactics, and cultures. He had volunteered to be an instructor, hoping to teach the next generation how to prevent war rather than fight it. A young human pilot approached him, nervous. "Captain Do-yoon, I have heard stories about you, about your service during the war. Is it true you shot down 63 enemy ships?" Do-yoon was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Yes, it is true. And I remember every single one. I remember their deaths, and I remember my friends who died. War is not glorious. It is not an adventure. It is necessary sometimes, but it always costs too much. That is why we are here, training together. So maybe the next time there is a conflict, we can solve it without fighting." The young pilot nodded, understanding settling in their eyes. Dr. Minji led a scientific exchange program, human and alien researchers working together on projects that benefited everyone: medical advances, agricultural improvements, environmental restoration.